Hey everybody, welcome back. This is episode 8. I think I'm doing pretty good. Today's episode is a really good one. I'm very happy with it, and it was another one where I was talking to a friend that I haven't seen in years. She was one of my favorite people, and she is, and I needed that reminder, I think. It sucks that you wait so long to reach out to somebody, and it seemed to cost dearly at this point because I don't know how well it picked up, but I got pretty upset at myself for not being there for her when she really needed a friend, and I always considered her to be a very close friend, and yeah. I am upset that I wasn't there for her, but so it goes. And also, there was a big storm that day, so you will hear a lot of rain and thunder. Just a warning.
All right.
What have you been up to?
Working and taking classes for to become a certified data scientist.
Really? What the hell is that?
It's machine learning, like programming machines to do things.
Like AI? Or?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
cool.
So I've gotten really into that. I didn't take more than a college level algebra class, and all this shit is calculus based, so I'm like, no. So it's been fun. It's been a struggle to stay on top of it. So another thing I got to do today before anything else, like I may not go anywhere. We're doing our capstone project, our final project, to prove to our employer that we should take this class because now we've saved them a bunch of money.
So are they paying for it, your employer? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, I've had to do my regular 8 to 5 and then class on top of it, and classes during the day. So it's half a day of class, half a day at work, and then sometimes we have a whole week of class. Mm-hmm. But on top of that, I still have to do all my regular work.
Is it a lot easier without kids in the house?
Well, Zoe's still there, but...
Oh, is she?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought she moved out.
Not yet. It kind of is. I mean...
But she's
they're older,
yeah. So
yeah, I don't have little kids running around. That does make it easier.
Yeah, you just got ferrets.
Yeah, this is kind of the same. You hear a crash, you gotta go investigate.
Ferret. So what else have you been up to? We haven't seen each other in like 10 years. Some mystery barbecue that I don't even remember.
That, and I like to garden a lot, so try to get back into that, be outside and play in the plants. We put a lot of landscaping around the house, and I've let it grow over the last few years, just being involved in work and school and stuff. And so now, like you said, there are no kids, so on my weekends I'm like, you know what? I go outside and play in the yard by myself.
What do you want to talk about? I'm going to let you lead a lot of this because we've never, whenever I talked with Chad, we had never had a conversation like that. And I don't think that we've ever had a real, a deep conversation. We've talked about shit before, but we never talked about, our own deep-rooted issues and stuff that we had to deal with either growing up or because of that.
Yeah. I don't know, because there's... I guess there's a lot. I've been listening to your other podcasts, and my brother listens and he thinks it's great, and so it's kind of neat to want to bring awareness of this kind of stuff to other people. And there's there's so many experiences that I've had where I don't think people take that into consideration, and
so with how they treat you.
Yeah. Okay. So losing friends or having problems keeping relationships because Nobody really understands what is going on.
Did these people, like, have you told them what's happened, what you've gone through?
Some of them, like, if I'm in a relationship with somebody, I try to be upfront about that, because that's not something you want to surprise. Guess what? I have issues. Because everybody has issues, but when you start to label those issues and people go on what their preconceived notions are of those labels, then they start thinking, oh God, like, for example, when I started seeing my ex-husband, he went into my bathroom in his home at medicine and he Googled it. And he was like, I don't know if I should see this chick anymore. It's antipsychotics. And so not knowing why they're prescribed to me or what's going on with me, just like immediately like thinking maybe I shouldn't get involved with this person
Just because they're
because of
generalizing.
their medication, right? So
before we go further, what are you doing? What are you dealing with? Like, what? I don't know how to say that. Like, it's without sounding like an asshole. Like, what are you dealing with? What's your problem?
What's your issue?
Yeah, what's your issue, dummy?
Well, I'm bipolar, and I don't know what type it is, but I see shit and I hear things. So, in come antipsychotics to help kill the nonsense and kind of level me out, and then I take mood stabilizers to keep from going on a roller coaster all the time. And I was diagnosed when I was 13 because I was causing problems for my parents, and they didn't believe it. They thought it was BS.
We thought it was in your head. That
Yeah, my
you're
mom.
just looking for attention.
Yeah, my mom still kind of believes that, even though she likes to throw it at me if I'm having a bad day. Did you take your medicine?
Oh, don't you hate that?
Yes.
That's like a big pet peeve of mine. Like, sometimes, if I'm having a bad day, because you're allowed to have a bad day, and somebody goes, did you take your meds today?
Yeah.
Like, really? You're
Yeah.
gonna go right there?
Immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's been hard, not having a real good platform of support growing up. My parents were just pissed because they had to take me places, and I went through inpatient treatment. I did several outpatient stints, and they were just annoyed that they had to cater to me like this. It was annoying.
They were annoyed that they had to take care of their kid.
Yes. This is
It's fucked up.
such a bump in the road for them. So it's, I guess that presence set it as like, don't tell anybody, because then people, number one, they don't understand. Number two, they're going to think you're faking it. And number three, they're probably just going to end up leaving you.
They
because
told
don't
you
wanna
not to
deal with
tell
it.
people.
Yeah, my mom said, don't tell nobody.
Wow.
Don't tell anybody. They don't, people don't like to hear things like that.
They don't want to hear your laundry.
Yeah,
Wow.
Don't air your dirty laundry.
Yeah.
So, and as I kind of came into my own, I realized there are people that like to parade that kind of stuff around. I don't, because not everybody really understands it. So people throw bipolar around all the time. Oh, I'm so bipolar today. Oh, I'm so bipolar. I'm having a bipolar moment. They don't know what it is, and so. It's even a disability. You can register as a disabled person just because you have it, and nobody really takes it, I think, seriously enough. They just think it's another crazy person thing, and so they
I think
just
it's another
generalize.
attention thing, like, I'm so depressed today. Or,
Yeah.
man, my anxiety's crazy today. I get that. I understand. Somebody to not generalize, but it's almost trivialize it by saying, oh, I'm feeling so bipolar today because I was happy and then something happened, now I'm sad.
Yeah.
Well, how about this? How about being happy and then nothing happened and then you're sad? How about that, fucker?
Yeah, totally. So, just deciding who I do tell, and like, so really close friends, sometimes I'll tell, but even then, like, I had a friend that lived with me for a while. I was trying to help her out, and she thought she was bipolar because one time a doctor threw it at her, And so she just used that for everything, as like her crutch in life, you know. And then if I was having a bad day, then she'd be like, God, Jolene, just go take some pills and just chill out or something. And so she doesn't live with me anymore. But, you know, it's like even then you feel like you can trust somebody and you tell them and they throw it back in your face. So it's a real, kind of like you have to think about who can I open up with and tell them about myself without them turning around and using it against me later because it suits their position.
Yeah.
You know, so like I had a boss at work who I'm shaky. I just am. I'm a shaky person. And she's like, Jolene, do you need to tell me something? No. You know, I mean, I take a lot of asthma medicine. I'm kind of shaky. She's like, are you sure you're not on drugs? I'm like, no, not on drugs. And she's like, well, you kind of are acting like you're on speed or something. Like, well, I do take ADD medicine, but it's not that. It's just me. I like to tap my foot. I got to keep moving. You know, I've got to fidget. I do things, you know?
Yeah.
And so she's like, well, you need to tell people about this because people think this or that. And I'm like, why can't people just mind their own business? Like, why they got to worry about me tapping my foot? You know,
if you're not coming up to somebody and saying, hey, do you want to buy some crack? Then what's the issue? Yeah. Or, hey, do you know where I can score some crack? Because I've got the jitters.
Yeah, so, and then it just makes me self-conscious at work now. Like, great, no.
Yeah,
people
she
are
doesn't
going to
name
wonder
names,
what's wrong
so
with me.
you're thinking that everybody is looking at you. And
Yeah. So it's like, if I don't just sit still and be immobile, people are going to be like, what's wrong with her? Why is she alive? So.
See, I don't know, that would be like something I would put on the dating profile online or something that I would say. I tea a lot. When I get happy, I make a puddle. I'm a chihuahua. No, just like, just up front, I am diagnosed depressed. I have severe anxiety, so I have some social issues, that kind of thing. Like, I would say that up front. I would think. I haven't really had a new relationship in some time, but I think, because, I met my wife on MySpace. So, that's telling right there. But it just seems like something that would be, it should be acceptable, but I guess it's not.
Yeah, no, it would. And, and then you think about it, like, if you're out there looking for someone to get to know or hang out and you see they've got a laundry list of mental issues, you're like, well, how much do I really want to get to know someone right now? It's kind of like, that's why I save that kind of surprise for later down the road when you've already decided you kind of like me. Maybe it won't be such a shock because of whatever. So
I would see it more as, I don't want to say challenge, but like if you were to tell me this is what I've got going on, this is what I deal with on a daily basis, then I would say, okay, well, how about let's see where this goes, and if it becomes an issue, then we can either work through it or realize this isn't where we're not meant to be around each other because my personality conflicts too hard with your personality and what you have to live with. So, I think that seems like it would be more of a, I don't want to say smarter thing because then I'm not calling you dumb, but just because it seems like if you wait to tell somebody, then are you just wasting that time, both of your time?
Not really, because the way I see it, like, you get somebody, like, you want somebody to know you before they judge you. And it's really easy to pass judgment on somebody when you don't know them and you're reading a profile or you're just talking over coffee or dinner and you go, yeah, I'm also bipolar and I've got really bad anxiety and ADD and I've been in the hospital a few times for it, so should we go on another date? So it's like,
I
they're
could see that
thinking,
because
they're like,
that goes back
okay.
to your generalization too.
Yeah, I
because
don't really
tell
know
them
you,
that,
but you have come out with all of this right up front. Probably just going to save myself the time right now and say no, And so if you get to know somebody, then you know them and you don't know them based on their ailments. It's like if you have cancer, but you meet somebody and you want to, have a relationship, but you tell them I have cancer, that other person's gonna go, oh my God, our time is limited. Do I want to invest myself in this person who may not be here for much longer? While it's different because it's life and death, it's judgment. Somebody's passing on you when they don't know you.
But then, at the same time, like if you tell them that and they're passing that judgment on you, is that really somebody you want to spend the time with anyway to develop anything?
If I could ever meet somebody who didn't pass judgment on me based on those things, then yeah, but that's not ever happened. It started with my family. So how could I think that just a stranger isn't going to pass judgment on me?
Yeah.
So that's kind of like, and there could be a magical person out there that would hear that and not pass any judgment at all and be like, oh yeah, but you could still be a great person. I haven't seen it.
Hopefully they're not too magical.
Yeah,
because you do not want to work with a magician. Because they're weirdos. You were diagnosed at 13 with ADD, bipolar. What was the other one? Sorry.
Oh, anxiety.
Anxiety.
That's
okay.
probably just part of
That's
the
what I was going to say, but yeah, I was like...
Package deal.
Like, that's the combo meal. So, you immediately got on meds. You had your stints in the hospital. And your parents are not supportive. They think that you are seeking attention or that you're making it bigger than it is.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you go from there? Once you leave their house, you leave them, and they don't have as much influence over how you see yourself.
So then I go and doing things on my own, and I take my meds and I'm doing okay, and then I stop taking my meds because I'm doing okay and I don't need them, and life falls apart and crashes, and it's a struggle to stay on medication because you're on it and you think I'm fine now, I don't need it. And it probably took a couple decades to really come to the realization that I cannot just not take medicine. This is, unfortunately, I'm going to have to come to terms with this is something that's going to be my life, because it's not a curable imbalance or brainwave thing. It's just who I am, and I can't fix what's going on in my brain without, having some helpers in there trying to make sure everything's going the right direction. And so, as manias creep up, you have your feeling that you're on top of the world and nothing can faze you and you can't die, and you're a millionaire and you can buy whatever you want and do whatever you want and nothing will change anything and nothing bad can happen. And that also comes with companionship. So you get into those manias and all of a sudden you love everybody and everything's great, and then like for me it just ended in a disaster. And so then after everything is said and done, and my life is blown up, it's like there I am alone with my kids, which is where I need to be, is with my kids. But I took for granted that there were people in my life that might have cared for me, but when it all was said and done, nobody called to see if I was okay or tried to reach out to me to make sure that things were going okay. It's all based on hearsay. Well, so-and-so said this is what happened, and so-and-so said this is what happened. And I wasn't in a place to deal with hearsay, to combat rumor, or to try to stick up for myself. If it was easier for somebody who was my friend to just blow me off and say, oh, I'm just done with her. What she did is messed up. And there's not thinking that maybe there's something going on with me, but that I am the problem. And so it's just easier to cut me out.
What is the timeline on that? Like what?
So that's like my mid-early 20s.
Oh, okay.
You know.
You mentioned the kids. That's why I was.
Yeah. So I'm, living by myself, and I've got the kids. It's, after Chad, at the end of Chad, like, that's when everything just blew up. And life exploded on me because I wasn't taking medicine, and I thought I could live without it. And, I wasn't at work because I was on workers' comp because I had carpal tunnel in both my hands. And that's probably the only thing that saved my job, or I wouldn't have had a job either. It was just that bad. Nothing was important because nothing could happen to me because I was invincible.
So you're in constant mania?
For probably about 6 months.
Wow. That's a long time to feel that way.
It is. Yeah. And that's why I didn't think I needed medicine. What? You gotta medicate this?
Why do you want to take this away from me? Yeah. Wow.
So, in that kind of bipolar I have, my manias aren't just like, a couple hours a day. It lasts for months. And, the reverse lasts even longer. And so when I did come down, I went way down, and I ended back up in treatment. And I was thankful for it because, that was the last time I really felt like life wasn't worth living. I couldn't even bring my kids to give me reason to live because I thought I was doing wrong by them. And having those kind of support groups that are available through treatment really helped pull me through because I didn't have friends at that time. Either people were off doing their own thing or they were believing rumors and BS that wasn't true and just deciding it wasn't worth it. And the support group really helped. It was there when I needed a support group, people to support me. And so it does kind of make me think maybe I should be more honest with people about what's going on with me, and I do that with, with close friends and people that are involved with me more upfront, and when my ex-husband found that bottle, I knew that I probably should have said something beforehand, but I didn't know what we were doing. Mm-hmm. We were just dating. And so after that, we got a divorce and I got into another relationship, and I tried to head it off at the pass and be like, look, before you go to my bathroom. But just kind of putting it out there that, I am this way, and I'm on medicine. I'm not going to go crazy on you that I know of. But, this is me. I take medicine. I have issues. And I try to manage them. And here recently, I messed up and got my schedule out of routine and kind of slipped up on my meds again. And I don't say I went crazy, but I became ultra negative about a situation. So, we were on a bumpy road anyway. And he wasn't giving me any time. I guess he needed more time to figure out what he wanted to do, and I could not be patient or empathetic about that. And so instead I was vengeful and angry and sending shitty, hateful messages and making snide comments and just being angry about things instead of understanding and being willing to give space. And so it just was like, nope, done.
I had no idea that you were going through that kind of stuff. And granted, I could have reached out, like the post-Chad stuff. Did you reach out to anybody?
No, I was just so embarrassed.
See, and at that point in time too, for me, like, I thought what I was going through was normal, where I would have my bouts of depression and just sit in a room for 6 days and not do anything, like maybe drink some whiskey and just listen to music and just be out of everything. And I thought that was normal. So I had no idea that I was depressed. I just thought, well, I get this way. So I had no idea that there were things that you were going through like that. So I honestly, I feel terrible that I wasn't a better friend to you.
Well, I don't say that to put you in a place or anything.
I don't think you are at all. It makes me sad to know that you were going through something like that. And I didn't know.
Well, yeah. I mean,
even then, I don't know how helpful I could have possibly been because, in my early 20s, I was a piece of shit. I was an asshole. So, but it makes me sad to think that you went through that. And
well, thanks, I guess.
Yes, thank you for an order.
But yeah, I didn't reach out to anybody. I was just ashamed of myself and sad and just didn't really think that anybody could understand anyway. Thought that maybe that's just where I needed to be, was by myself. And I think the people that at the set that made it worse were the people that were saying that they, were my friend, but that I abandoned them. And I'm like, how did I abandon you? I had to take myself out of an equation that was violent, with a particular person, and I couldn't just hang around them because I can't be around them. So how did I abandon you if you choose to hang around them and be their friends, and you don't even, you want to be friends with anybody? Hey, that's not my business. I can be friends with people who hate each other because I don't try to bring them together. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I can say, this is my friend over here and this is my other friend over here. But to say that I abandoned somebody because I couldn't hang out with one particular person is like an excuse to get rid of somebody.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it's hurtful to be on the receiving end of being dumped as a friend. But at the same time, you're like, is that person even true with people in their life, period? They can't even just be a true friend to somebody without thinking that they've abandoned them because they can't hang out with one of their other friends for totally justifiable reasons. I try to think, well, that's not the kind of person I want in my life. And so I sit there and there's nobody. And I'm like, okay, so what kind of person should be in my life? Because my parents think I'm full of shit. My kids are too young to know any better. They still love me. And I've pushed everybody else away. And so it was a really lonely time. But it was a time of really kind of finding myself and trying to do some self-inventory on taking note of everything that happened in those few months and looking for triggers. What triggered this? What triggered me to act this way or that way? And how can I prevent those or see those triggers and not react the same way? And I did a lot of journaling. Come into that again recently.
Super helpful.
Yes, because I'll just sit up all night and think. And if I don't get it out of my head, then I won't sleep. So if I'm feeling really upset and I can't get thoughts out of my head, then I write. I've thought about, wouldn't it be kind of a cool idea to publish one of these journals, as like a self-help book for other people to see the crazy whims of one person and how it would help them on their own journeys or finding themselves.
Mm-hmm. That's one thing I've been doing is starting from my earliest memory and just like writing. It started as a writing exercise, but then it evolved into, well, this, maybe this glimpse inside my head will help the boys if they come into that, if they figure out like they've got some kind of issue. Maybe seeing how I dealt with stuff will help. So it has turned into kind of a book or a pamphlet, I guess.
A pamphlet.
Yeah. And just apologies for Dr. Boots Papadopoulos, PhD. He decided to pop in for a visit. He does that. He likes to jump on the table and
Of course.
not talk because he's rude. He just rubs stuff and makes bump sounds. Do you remember him?
Yes, he
Okay.
was just a little kitten.
I know. Can you believe that he's still alive?
I know.
He's like 15.
Gee. I come home and my ferrets kiss me, my bunnies kiss me. Even the dogs, I don't like that so much.
I've always enjoyed cats more. I know that. I don't know. They just.
They're so personable.
And they can really, like, I know dogs can too, but they can really tell when you're down.
Yeah. I read this cool fact that cats domesticated themselves. It was like the only animal that's ever done that, because at the time, people always had scraps that they were leaving out. And so the cats started hanging around where the people lived to get the scraps and then to see the little mice. And then they noticed that if they came in the house, the people would feed them and pet them. And so they're like, oh, wow, this is all right. And they just moved in on people like that. I think the cats domesticated us.
Little furry virus.
Yeah.
You said you got off your medication because you're like, I can do this. And I've messed around with that a little bit. You also said that you got off your schedule. So do you keep a strict schedule with when you take?
Yes. So some of it I have to take at night because it makes me kind of sleepy. There was one medicine that I took for a while, and it made me so tired. Like, I would wake up in the morning to get ready for work, and I would think I was doing fine, and I would drive to work, and I would start falling asleep. And I fell asleep at the wheel, and I totaled my car and 2 other cars and almost did myself in because I was like nodding off, and I woke up and everybody around me was stopped, and I'm going 65.
When was this?
This was for about 4 years ago.
Oh, man.
I was in the hospital for a couple days, and it was awakening. I told my doctor, I said, as of today, I'm alive and I'm not taking that medicine anymore. Like, that was like the last straw. I can't, I would doze off and wake up and have to like stop immediately and stuff, but never that bad. And so antipsychotics are just like that. They knock you out. I try to take like any antidepressants or anything in the morning with my ADD meds and separate it like that, but if I got off track and I stopped taking the antidepressants, so it starts throwing me into not necessarily a mania, but like kind of like episodes where I can get manic, but it's not a happy thing. It's really negative to where I'm a really negative person. I'm angry, I'm agitated, and it's just a bad place for me to be for other people, really, because I just hate everything.
It sounds like I was talking to Linda, Cynthia's mom, and she had brought up being manic and describing exactly how you were, and I'd never heard that. Like, I didn't know that that's what manic was, because I thought manic was being like negative, and I always thought of it as a negative. And because that's any time that I felt like, oh, well, that must be what manic is because that's what I feel right now. It was just being overtly negative about everything, and not really even being super angry, but being very hateful and hurtful, wanting to tear anybody down, and without any kind of agenda, just wanting to do it. So,
and I think it's different. Everybody can have different experiences. With what I deal with, my manias are top of the world, nothing can destroy me type feelings. And my manic episodes are like you described. Just anybody's in my path, I'm going to tear them down, and I just want to be hurtful. Why? I don't know. Because it makes me feel better right now.
Scary.
Yeah.
It's super scary. Like, whenever I first started feeling like that, I attributed it to whenever I quit smoking. Because I was just like, I would have conversations with people on the phone and not necessarily talk about them, but like other people, and just rip it up. And I was just like, I like this because I'm funny.
Yeah.
And they were like, I like it whenever you quit smoking because you're funny. And I'm just like, man. Like, but then, it continued, and I was like, wait a second, like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
So.
And there's a person that, he sits next to me at work now, but we worked together when I first started at this company in customer service. And a friend of mine worked there too from Wells Fargo. That's how I got the job. And he used to make fun of this guy all the time. And it was funny. I didn't make fun of him, but I did laugh. And so I got the job at corporate, and I, went over there, and then the guy comes over there like a few months later, and I'm like, oh, hey. And he's just like, don't talk to me. Like, oh, okay. And so every now and then I'd see him, and I'd be like, don't be nice. He doesn't like me. And then I ended up on his team. It's like, ugh. And he would make it a point to say hello and goodbye to everybody by name except me. I was like, okay. And so I every now and then kind of casually joke with him or something, and he'd be all right. He'd be nice. And then my boss moved him and made him sit right next to me, not like of any specific reason, just because that's the way the seating arrangement landed. And I was like, oh, man. It took him a while, but now he says good morning to me.
It only took 6 years,
yes.
but hey, I got that morning. I got that good morning, that goodbye, and sometimes he says my name.
Yeah. Goodbye, everybody. And you, I guess.
Later, girl.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's like, you don't think about it a lot of times when you're not necessarily the one making fun, but you're laughing at the jokes, and it's still just as evil to just sit there and laugh as it is to
Perpetuating
make
the life of the joke.
Yeah. So
That's the weird thing about the age that we're at right now with just technology and stuff is I'm having to teach like Ian, like, hey, whenever he shows me like a meme with an actual person on it and it's directly making fun of this person, I'm like, just remember that person is a person. There's somebody on the other side of that. They're seeing this. So whenever you share it, you're continuing that trend of bringing them down if they don't want to be this, this internet meme or whatever that's hurting them.
yeah.
So kind of reminding him that that's a person. That's
good.
a person with the same feelings like you, that whenever they see this, or if you saw it and it was you, you'd feel upset. Maybe they're feeling the same way, so let's chill.
Yes.
Let's chill out on that.
Good job, Dad. Yeah, when we talk about kids, like trying to raise kids and bring them in while you're going through this, kind of the whole time I was going through my mania, I had my kids with me, and so they have just the worst memories that I can think of. As a kid, you remember things, and we were sitting talking one time, and Zoe goes, Mom, you remember that time Alexis came home from her dad's and you just started spanking her for no reason? That was so funny. Whoa, what? I'm like sitting here on the verge of tears. I'm like, why would I do that? I think about it, and I think she wiped a booger on the wall or something, but it's like, she wasn't home, and so I saved it for when she got home. And it was like, you feel that anger or whatever, and I never beat them senseless or anything like that. The worst they got was a spanking, but it still made me feel really bad. Like, gosh, how many times did I do that I don't remember?
It was like loss of control, and it wasn't. I mean, I'm assuming it wasn't out of anger. or bad feelings towards them, you know, it might have sparked with that, like, just, I need to punish them for putting a booger on the wall.
Yeah.
But just going overboard.
Yeah, like 5 licks instead of just a swat on the butt or something. And it just made me really think about that. And then with my ex-husband, he had a son who was... He was just a kid that didn't like to listen to anybody. And he was always in trouble at school, always in trouble at home. And it was so hard to deal with because I am on, you know, on my routine and I'm doing good, but this kid is just testing my limits. You know, having to leave work to pick him up from school because he's cussing at teachers or because he's fighting with another kid. And I mean, he got suspended in 3rd grade.
Oh my God.
So it's not like he was an older kid. He was like, he got kicked out of daycare for pulling a fire alarm because he thought it would be funny. And just, it was very stressful. And the whole relationship was a fight about why wouldn't Zoe get in trouble when this kid is getting in trouble all the time? Because Zoe doesn't do that shit. Zoe isn't pulling fire alarms. She's not cussing out teachers and she's not punching kids in the face on the playground. Like, Zoe doesn't even get in trouble at school. Why should she get punished?
Yeah. You punish her just because this kid's getting punished.
Yeah, and it was so... it was a very trying time, but the kids, I tell them I'm bipolar and I take medicine, and they have never once thrown anything in my face about, Mom, why aren't you taking your medicine? Or Mom, are you taking your medicine? Or anything like that.
That's amazing because I would think that most kids would.
Yeah.
Just to have that edge
That one
over
up.
you. Yeah, that one up.
But they've always been understanding, and it was really hard for me to deal with Alexis going and living with her dad. But I knew that we both went through a separation around the same time, and he needed her there. There was a lot that he kind of missed out on in his marriage because his wife didn't like a lot of things in his life. He had abandoned Zoe, and Zoe was always something special to him. And then she didn't think that was appropriate anymore, and so he let it go. And that was really, really difficult to explain to Zoe because Zoe didn't understand why he didn't want her around anymore. And it was really hard for her to get over that. And I think she's come to terms with it and she's forgiven him. But I think she's always got that in the back of her mind, like, I'm disposable. And it hurts for her to know that she thinks that way. And, you know, I just try to say, okay, well, of all the things in life, we all make mistakes. And we all have to come back. And we can't say, well, this person really kind of abandoned me and now they're coming around again and I don't want anything to do with them. And that's healthy in some aspects, but like, that's family, you know? And so I don't feel like you should ever just kick out family. Even though he's not her true dad, he was always there for her like a dad. And
definitely there for all those years of coming up.
yeah, and so I talked to her and I said, you can't hate him because you love him. You wouldn't be able to hate him without loving him first. And so people make mistakes and we've got to forgive them. Otherwise, we're holding a grudge and it's hurting us in the long run because we're doing everything we can to hold on to a grudge.
Right.
And it's just way easier to just let it go, you know? And she's come around and appreciated that. And now she's coming into a space where she could potentially be bipolar. And I never wanted to pass that down to my kids.
Does that make
But-
you think maybe like your mom or your dad was?
Oh, I know my mom is. She's just in denial. But yes, it's definitely something that can be passed down. And so, well, I was always worried about it when I was growing up and raising kids, like trying to look for signs and trying to see if I could catch it early. And
I mean, you had her super early, like you were super young. So, yeah, wow.
yeah, so she didn't, I guess, come around with a lot of symptoms. I mean, she did, but she wasn't like officially labeled probably until she was 18 or 19. And she doesn't want to be on medication. And she thinks everything is fine. And I just deal with her outbursts, which are really hurtful. But I don't know how to encourage her to stay on the meds. It's very difficult for somebody who's bipolar to stay on meds because of all the different changes you go through and all the moods. And when you feel like you're on top of the world, why do you need medication for that? So I try to tell her through my experiences that you have to stick with it and you have to stay on it. And unfortunately, it is forever because it's not going to go away. Mm-hmm. You'll have a really great day and you'll feel like you're on top of the world, but that doesn't mean it's gone. It's just hiding. And so that's kind of a struggle right now with everything else, is trying to get her to realize that she does need the help. And her deal is, well, I can't ever remember to take a pill, so it doesn't matter. Okay, I can help you. There's alarms you can set on your phone. There's ways to overcome that, and it's just always another reason why she can't do it. And so right now I'm just trying to get her back on the wagon, like get her like to taking the pills, and because it would also encourage her to have an appetite, which she doesn't have much of. She was in treatment for a while, and she finally got over the 100-pound mark. And we were all so excited because she'd never weighed more than 100 pounds her whole life. And then she stopped taking the medicine and her weight fell again because she wasn't eating. Well, I just don't think about eating. Just, I mean, it's not that big of a deal. Yeah, it is. You've got to eat. And being the way I am and trying to raise a child that's also the way I am and bring her to the light, I guess, so to speak, is probably one of my dilemmas right now.
That's a huge challenge. That's a big, not even a hurdle. Like that's a triathlon.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you can tell somebody all day like, well, this is what I went through, and I'm just trying to help you. And I mean, as well as anybody else, that isn't going to mean shit until something really bad happens. And then you kind of open up a little bit. And then also it's probably really hard for her to be accepting of that right now, because that's the age where you are broken free from everyone. And then whenever you're like 22 or 23, you start to realize, oh, my parents may have been really trying to help me, and good people, something like that, I would imagine. People with good parents that did that. Coming back to it and realizing what you took for granted or what you dismissed whenever you were in your late teens or whatever. That's something to hope for. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, all I can think of is like sit down and talk. But like even with like Ian, like I tried to do this early on. I think we started probably like 2 or 3 years ago. No matter what, if he says, Dad, I need to talk, I drop whatever I'm doing and we go somewhere and we talk. Just so he knows, like there's always going to be somebody there that will stop and talk. So, is it too late to try that? Do you think you can do that?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to say that like as a, do you think you can, Jolene?
No, it's
but just, because everybody's lifestyle is different. You're juggling school and work, and she's like, Mom, I really need to talk. I'm having this going on, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, well, I'm kind of swamped here. It's not as easy for some.
And she actually just started doing that recently. She'll call me at work in the middle of the day. Mom, I'm just having a bad day. And I'll walk away from my desk and we'll have a conversation. And if I can't stay, on it too long, I'll be like, okay, well, I'll be home soon and we can talk while making dinner or something. And luckily there haven't been too many of those times because I don't take breaks at work. So if I'm going to step away for 15 or 20 minutes, you kiss my butt. I'm gone. I'll be right back.
Well, and also, yeah, I mean, I think if you explain that, what was going on, my daughter's having a rough time, this is why. Do the people at work, like your higher-ups, know what about your bipolar? Fuck.
I don't want to tell.
Well,
it's a judgmental thing I'm worried about. You know, I mean, geez, a lady, you know, my old boss thought I was on freaking crack just because I shake my leg. I mean, if I tell her I'm bipolar, she's probably going to think I'm going to try to kill her one day.
Well, if you tell her you're anxious, then that explains the leg shaking. I have severe anxiety. I don't know. I just don't see
Well, yeah,
like
but
the issue with like telling something like that doesn't seem embarrassing to me.
Anxiety is not embarrassing, but bipolarness is.
Yeah.
To me, it's not something I'm proud of or really want to tell a lot of people about because, well, I don't like being judged. Nobody does. I mean, but some of it, if I can avoid it, if I can dress pretty for work and nobody can see who I really am, you know, then they won't judge me. They'll judge me for my work and they won't be like, yeah, but this lady who did it is kind of bipolar, so it could be hit or miss. I don't know. It's just fears, my own fears.
Wouldn't you just prove them wrong with good work?
I have so far, so if I come out of the bag now, you're like, we need more of these people.
Hey, guess what, dummy? You've been dealing with a cuckoo brain.
So, yeah, my boss knows that, you know, my kids are really important, that they're older, and that sometimes I have to take a minute to go talk to them. And he's, so far, pretty understanding with that. So,
That's
that's good.
Yeah.
But I feel like there may be more times, and if I level set with her, like you did with Ian, and said, hey, if you need me, you know you've called me before, but you can do that anytime. And just kind of put it out there. I think that would make her feel better too.
Yeah, even if, like, I figured even if he never did want to, as long as I repeated, I will drop whatever and talk. As long as he knew that that was an option, then maybe that would help him make better choices too. And then, you know, worst case scenario, he knows that somebody will want to talk to him. And that's another thing too, is like, one thing that I didn't learn till it was too late, that, you know, you sit here and think, well, my problem is so small compared to all these other problems that people deal with every day. You know, you can't do that. You have to focus on, that's your problem. You have to focus on that. So I lost my train of thought. I do that all the time, and it's ridiculous. Like my thoughts will go farther than my mouth, and
You can't catch up. Whoa, come back.
Slow down, train. That was ridiculous. That's what I deal
It's okay,
with.
I do it too. Just trying to talk myself in circles.
Yeah,
See if it comes back.
Right? I'm chasing my conversation tail. I think the point was just making sure that he knew that someday was there, and Cynthia's there for him too. And he knows that. Pretty amazing that you're wanting, like, you're so fearful of judgment, but you're willing to talk to people.
Well, I don't mind talking in a almost kind of an atmosphere where nobody knows my name and address where I work. But there's always the possibility that somebody that knows me could listen, and that's okay, because I feel like if they're listening to this podcast, then they've got an open enough mind to know that you can't judge somebody based on that.
Or maybe they're seeking help for themselves.
Yeah. And I would love to be able to help people with that. You know, if I can prevent somebody from going down in flames, that makes me feel better, just because maybe they can learn from my experiences like I did, but they don't have to go down the hole that I went to get there.
Yeah. That's my overall goal, I think, with this too, is to just lay out everything that, like, me and whoever I'm talking to goes through. And somebody hears it and is like, oh, same shit. maybe I should listen to this and it can help me out a little bit. And that's kind of the point, I think, is just we can feel alone, but we don't have to be alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
So thank you for being here. Yeah. All right.
All right. That doesn't mean it's on mute if it's red, right?
Now it's on mute. Can we re-record everything? Do you remember what you said? I wrote down a few things, but not much.